What's up, y'all? Welcome to a brand new episode of Comic Chaser, my weekly comic book review show where I talk about all the books on my pull list for this week that I picked up. So I do apologize for skipping an episode. I did miss an episode last week because my pull list was massive and I had a lot of stuff going on. I went to go see Superman. We were recording the podcast. I had a lot of stuff to record and do. Now, by the time this episode goes out, that Superman episode should be out of the podcast. In fact, I believe it is out as I'm recording this. So go check that out if you haven't already and you want to see my full deep dive spoiler filled thoughts on Superman. And I will actually also include my thoughts on Fantastic Four in today's episode of Comic Chaser, a spoiler-free review of Fantastic Four, of course. And I'll do my best to also provide chapters. If that worked for you guys last time, I hope that did well. I haven't actually checked the comments to see how well the episode did, but as always, thank you guys for any support you give. I always appreciate it. Don't forget to leave this video a like, as always, and hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss any brand new episode of Comic Chasers, new episode of the podcast, or any of the other content we provide for you guys. And that notification bell helps as well, so don't forget to do that also. So we have a much more manageable sized pull list this week. It is only 7 books, lucky number 7. So we're going to go through these as per usual. If you're new to these videos, I do this in I do this in a countdown style where I go from the top of my pile all the way to ending it out on my book of the week. Now, just because something is at the top of my pile does not mean the book is bad. It just means out of everything, this is the one that I was like, okay, this was just good. But when we get to the, bottom of the pile, towards the end, that's when it's just like, oh man, this blew my mind kind of thing. So that's just how it works. Let's just go ahead and get started. As per usual, spoiler warning for all the books I'm about to cover. And if I missed anything that you think I should check out, definitely suggest it in the comments down below. I'm always down for recommendations. Alright. So first up is Martian Manhunter, issue number 5. This is written by Dennis Camp with art by Javier Rodriguez. I put it down for a second because I almost lost grip on the rest of my pile. But yeah, written by Dennis Camp, art by Javier Rodriguez. This is a good book. And I understand why a lot of people are praising it. But I'll be honest with you, I'm going to stick with it only because I don't like not completing a series. And I know this is only going to be 12 issues from what I hear. It's good. It really is. The art is great. The colors are really well done. I mean, that's Javier Rodriguez's forte. Dennis Camp does a really good job at painting this world. I just gotta say, man, I might just not be in the right headspace for this right now because this is a very dour and depressing book, and I get it's supposed to be, but it's too depressing for me to really kind of fully appreciate and enjoy. Other than on an objective level, the fact that it's well written, the art is really good, but it is really depressing and it's hard to get through because it's so depressing. I have a feeling though when I'm in a better mental that this will probably hit different, but for now, this is definitely my least favorite of the Absolute books, personally, but that's just me. If you guys like it, I don't disagree with you. This is a good book. This just isn't for me, especially right now. I'm not going to go into deeper detail, but I just really need more hopeful shit in my life right now. So this just isn't right for my mental. But as a collector and a fan, I'm gonna keep reading this, and I'm gonna keep collecting the books and supporting the creators because I like both of these gentlemen. So, but still, um, it's just not for me, I guess. But I'm still picking it up. All right, now next up is Batman Hush 2, or Batman issue number 161. I think this is part 4. It might be part 4. I want to say it's part 4 or part 3 of Hush 2. I want to say it's part 4. If you guys have been following Comic Chaser at all, you know that I am not the biggest fan of Batman Hattush. But I will say, so far, this is the best issue. Just because it kind of gets straight to the point. And it has Hush. So basically, we kind of figure out now what Hush's like plan is. This is just kind of like Hush's version of Scott Snyder's Death of the Family, where he basically uses the kind of like trauma that the Joker has inflicted on the entirety of the Bat family, and like, you know, Batman's inability to just let the Joker go, to cause that as a catalyst to have the Bat family turn on him, which I both understand but am frustrated by, because like, we've done this song and dance so many times that I really don't feel like this is a problem we need to keep bringing up. I think, not to say that Babs is over it, because it's like obviously a huge trauma point, and same with Jason, but like, I really don't think they would have gone to this extreme. I feel like they would understand Bruce at this point to not react this way. This still feels very out of character. I do not agree with the direction like this, and it does not fit with modern continuity, right? I feel like if this was just an OGN set out of continuity, like maybe like have it set like closer after Hush 1, even though Heart of Hush does exist, which I think is actually a better sequel to Hush than this. I'll say it. Shout out to Paul Dini. But this just, it feels out of place. This feels like 10 years too late. But Jim Lee's art is always phenomenal, so like there's that. It's always pretty to look at. The action scenes are great. Jeff Loeb is a great writer. No disrespect to Jeff Loeb, but this just feels like this is an old concept that is just now getting printed. And it feels very dated. Like, I would have probably enjoyed this if this came out, like, even 5 years ago, like, during the New 52. Or, actually, New 52 was over, like, beyond 5 years ago. New 52 was 10 years ago. Yeah, I would have enjoyed this, like, 10 years ago. Like, towards the tail end of the New 52, if they did something like this would have been alright. Or, you know, if this had taken place before, like, Death of the Family by Scott Snyder. Because, honestly, I feel like this concept was handled better in Scott Snyder's run. I don't know. It's just kind of meh for me, right? Like, again, I'm going to finish this out because, you know, it's Batman. I'm going to always read Batman. It's a staple to my pull list, just like the Fantastic Four. But, you know, I'm not really enjoying this, y'all, except for the art. Jim Lee's art is always goated. Alright, now on to something I did actually enjoy quite a bit. Was Jeff the Landshark, written by Kelly Thompson, and I can never pronounce the artist's name. The artist is Tokato Koro? I apologize if I mispronounced your name, which I more than likely did, sir. I apologize for that. As someone whose last name often gets mispronounced, I do apologize. But yeah, this was a lot more. This was a lot of this. You know, just even more fun. I'm holding it backwards. Oops. This was a lot of fun. Jeff continues his adventure across the Marvel Universe, chasing Shadow Jeff. And this time he ends up in space, what looks like in the collector's trophy room. and he gets to team up with Rocket and Groot, and it was just a lot of fun. Rocket builds Jeff a mech, and again they're chasing down Shadow Jeff. They're also trying to recontain this one monster that they accidentally let loose, and Rocket keeps trying to rename Jeff. Like he's like, you look like a Donovan. You should be Donovan. And I don't know about you guys. Jeff doesn't look like a Donovan. He does look like a Jeff. I know that's like a weird expression. Like, how do you look like a name? A lot of people are like, how does that make sense? It just does. Names have a certain vibe to them, and they match. And you can't tell me that you don't see this little fella, and you don't think, oh yeah, that's Jeff, right? Like, as you can see, I'm a big fan of this little demon. He might not be my main in Marvel Rivals. In fact, whenever I see him on the enemy team, he does tend to frustrate me quite a bit, which is why I use characters like Emma or, Mr. Fantastic or other characters that can just block his ult some way. But I do love the guy. He's really cute, and they even find ways for him to communicate better in this, but they do find creative ways to still let him communicate without having him actually speak. He still speaks in the that was my impression of Jeff. I hope you guys enjoyed that. But I'm really excited for this next one, because who he happens to run into, he happens to head down south to the Big Easy, and we know who lives over there. None other than Mr. and Mrs. Gambit. Mr. and Mrs. X, as it were. Gambit and Rogue, baby, and we also see Wolverine in the teaser for the next issue. So Jeff is going to have some X-Men adventures, which is going to be awesome. This series just has been a lot of fun, man. It's lighthearted, it's goofy, it's silly. I think this is also just a great one you could even read to your kids. For those of you older readers out there who do have little ones, I think this is a fun one to read that you could, bond with your kids with. It's cute. It's very cute, but it's not like something that adults still couldn't find enjoyment out of. I mean, who doesn't love this little guy, man? Who doesn't? I mean, again, other people on opposite teams in Marvel Rivals maybe don't love this little guy, but even if you are on the opposite team of this little guy, after you get angry at him, you're just like, okay, I can't stay mad at you. He's just so cute. Oh, he's just so cute. Really like this issue. It's a lot of fun. You want to talk about another series that I enjoy a lot of, that I feel like is underrated? I like a lot of the solo X-Men, like, individual titles. Like Magic and Psylocke are two of my favorites, and Psylocke continues to be awesome. This continues the story arc of Kwannon looking for her old friend Mizuki, who she thought died during her formative years when they were training with the Hand. Turns out Mizuki is alive, and she was being preserved by several yokai, and she even made a deal with one particular yokai. It's like, all right, I want Psylocke to join me, my friend Kwannon to join me, but if she doesn't, you can have her. You can, I'll let you possess her body. And yeah, that is exactly what happened. Of course, Grey Crow and Devin are looking for a way to save Psylocke, and they find out that, of course, the seal or tattoo that's on Psylocke's hand, that was like a hand marking, was a an invitation to let her into sacred hand spaces. And so this was all a setup to get her basically either to join Mizuki or being forced to join Mizuki by being possessed by the spirit lady in white, which, funny enough, was a villain in Zatanna for a little bit, for that Zatanna series that I was reading in DC. So that's kind of funny that this just happened kind of back to back, because that arc just ended over there. But it's a badass look for her. And of course, now Mizuki, along with her yokai, are going to try and take over the Tokyo branch of the Hand. And of course, that also means it's going to be up to Grey Crow and Devon to free Quanon and, take care of Mizuki. I can't wait to see where this goes. The art is awesome. I think the incorporation of Japanese mythology, like using yokai and like Quanon's like hand history that we know very little about. I think because Quanon was such a mysterious character, because she was kind of like forgotten, tossed aside, since most of Psylocke's character is based off of the Betsy Braddock days, where Betsy possessed this body. It leaves a lot of room for open interpretation, and I feel like the creative team is really taking advantage of that, which makes this book a lot of fun. It's got great action in it and really solid characterization for Quanon as a character. So I think if you enjoy Psylocke and you enjoy like stuff that has like a similar vibe to like Rick Remender's run on Uncanny X-Men, you'll definitely enjoy this Psylocke solo series. All right, moving on. Speaking of X-Men, we have the White Queen, Emma Frost, issue number 2. You guys know I'm an Emma defender. I love Emma Frost. And this is like a throwback to her Bad Girl era. And basically she's trying to figure out who is the mole within the Hellfire Club. And like, if you know Hellfire Club history and you know Emma's history, you know her ops within the inner circle of the Hellfire Club. The Black Queen, Tessa, was always kind of her biggest op. So we kind of already knew the direction it was going if you already know the lore behind Emma and her time at the Hellfire Club. And I'm not gonna say I called it in the very first issue that her assistant chick, who was clearly just invented for this miniseries, was the secret mole and informant that was leaking information to Tessa. But I called it. Again, it's not that difficult. It's telegraphed pretty easy, but I still called it. We also got to see a lot of Emma's other skills in this, like that she's actually a very good combatant even without her powers and the use of her telepathy. Something that I really like in here that isn't really part of the issue itself, but like is in like the back pages of the comic. So in the back of this issue in particular, there's a thing called there's a little section called a love letter, and it is the author Amy Chu writing in Emma's voice, in character, like a letter to the fans, like thanking them for reading the comic, like reading the first issue, and of course picking up the second one. And she also explains to people in this letter, like, Emma, if this wouldn't really be a mystery if you just read everybody's mind, right? Like, how is this even a mystery? You could figure this out easy peasy if you just read everyone's mind, right? You're just as powerful as the bald guy. What's stopping you from just solving this lickety split? And she explains, like, being a telepath is hard. You can't just read everyone's mind all the time. You know how like taxing and annoying it is, because like everybody's thoughts are just very boring and mundane, and it would be just overwhelming to just take everything in all at once. And also, if your enemies know you can read minds, they will undoubtedly have protections against reading minds. So like, you can't just take the easy way out here. And you get to really just see just Emma's cleverness, her fashion sense. Of course, there's a lot of fan service. Shout out to the artists, like Fabella for this one. Oh man, great artwork, beautiful artwork. The White Queen would be proud. I'm enjoying this miniseries quite a bit. Like it's a very classic throwback. Like the art reminds me of stuff I've seen from like 80s back issues that I've leafed through, but it still feels modern, which I really like. It's kind of similar in that vein to like the Wolverine and Kitty Pryde miniseries that I'm covering. Has that same kind of vibe to it art wise, and I think this is really cool. As an Emma Frost fan, I'm quite enjoying this. So if you happen to enjoy her thighness, Emma Frost herself, in Marvel Rivals or anything like that, and you want a taste of what she was like in her bad girl era, I highly recommend picking up Emma Frost White Queen. You don't really need to know any of the backstory from previous old X-Men stuff. Obviously, it enriches your experience quite a bit. I'm very familiar with the X-Men. They are one of my two favorite teams on in Marvel, so of course I'm familiar. But if you're not, it's still very new reader friendly, and it will help you really understand kind of how far Emma has come in her journey, like by seeing just how cunning and deceitful she was back in her heyday, when she was just the White Queen of the Hellfire Club. So like I recommend it, man. It's really good. Now, surprise, surprise, somehow this did not end up as my pick of the week. It usually is my book of the week every month that it comes out, but this time it's not. It is Absolute Wonder Woman, issue number 10. This is, I think it's My Mother's Monsters, I think is the name of the arc. Part 3 of 5, which is the current, like, Labyrinth arc that's going on in Absolute Wonder Woman. Of course, written by Kelly Thompson, co-creator of Jeff the Land Shark, but written by Kelly Thompson and art by Hayden Sherman. This continues Diana's adventures within the labyrinth, and of course she is trying to save Petra, the Siren, while also like working with Ferdinand the Minotaur, who is a classic Wonder Woman character. Ferdinand the Minotaur is, at least, and she basically manages to get Petra to safety. She guides Petra back to the entrance that she came from, and she leaves her in the care of Steve and the rest of her friends. And so she, of course, promises to go back for Ferdinand until she does, and she ends up being captured by the woman whose name I am blanking on right now, who's claiming to be an Amazon and is in charge of all these fishmen. And she's also saying that she's being like tossed into a pit. He's gonna be tossed into a pit to basically be in a fighting arena, and it's just like, oh, they're not gonna do that. They just did this with the Hades mini arc that just previously happened, so they're not gonna do that again. So we'll see how she gets out of this. I'm interested to see for sure. Honestly, the part that I'm more like engrossed in is the flashback with young Diana being tested by Artemis, and you really get to see her characterization that like she is a warrior, but her kind-hearted nature, she doesn't automatically jump to fighting. And I love what young Diana says here. She talks about, a lot of the animals here that live in hell in the Wild Isles, they bite, they scream, they hiss, but it's not because they're bad. It's not because they're evil or they want to hurt people. It's just because that's the only way they know how to do things. So that's why I try to show them how. So when, Artemis's avatar, this like wolf creature, tries to attack her, and it's just like, fight me, fight me, fight me, and she just refuses and refuses and refuses. She's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to hurt you. That's just not who I am. It isn't until the creature, Artemis's emissary, attacks this poor defenseless turtle, and she's like, no, you can't do that. He has nothing to do with this. He's innocent. And then she's like, all right, then stop me. And that's when she and that's when she fights him. That's when she fights the creature. She goes, he's under my protection. And so she fights him, and she defends the turtle, and I love it. She her Cersei sees that she's like a little banged up and hurt. She's like, Diana, are you okay? Like, Mama, you should have seen it. I did good. Look at this. His name is Nico. And he shows the turtle. I'm like, oh, that is so Diana. Like, yes, Diana is this incredible warrior. This nigh unstoppable combatant, a living weapon, as it were. But her true strength is her empathy and her compassion. Kelly Thompson gets it. Kelly Thompson gets it. Like, that's the thing that I love about the Absolute trilogy. I have my problems with Absolute Superman kind of being a little too slow for my taste. But everyone within the Trinity, you can tell the writers behind them all get the core of that character, and they make sure to that no matter how different the universe is, that core still really shines. And I mean, you even see that with characters like the Flash as well. And I would even say Green Lantern, like someone like Hal. I don't know Joe as much, so I can't really speak to Joe. But someone like Hal and Wally. Maybe that's why I'm not connecting with Martian Manhunter as much, but like that's at least my take on why Wonder Woman is probably my favorite, because again, I love Greek mythology. The Greek mythology aesthetic just really has me like engrossed in this, and I think whenever Wonder Woman really embraces the Greek mythology aspect of her world, it's where it's at its best, because there's so much storytelling potential within it. And I think Kelly Thompson and Hayden Sherman are taking full advantage of it, which is why this continues to be my favorite Absolute book, personally. I know I love Batman, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge Batman fan, but I know you can see that Wonder Woman poster in the background. Wonder Woman is definitely up there as one of my favorites, so, like, don't get it twisted. I love Wonder Woman as well. And this continues to be my favorite Absolute Universe book so far. But what happens to be my pick of the week this week? Well, it is a brand new #1 from IDW Publishing. That is Godzilla #1. Written by Tim Seeley, the author of one of my favorite horror books of the 2010s, Revival, which does have a brand new TV show. Shout out to Tim Seeley. I'm so glad to see that. I have not seen the first episode yet. I do plan on watching it at some point, and maybe we'll cover it for the podcast. But hopefully I will get to check that out. I loved Revival. I thought it was amazing. And as soon as I heard that Tim Seeley was going to be doing the main Godzilla book for this new Kaisei era at IDW Publishing, I had to check this out. Like I said, it's written by Tim Seeley, and the art is by Nicola. I am not going to attempt to pronounce this last name. It is Russian. I apologize, sir. I want to give you your credit. The art is amazing in here. And this is basically your setup. This is a world where in the late 1940s, early 1950s, due to the bombings at the end of World War II, it woke up Godzilla. You know the drill with that. And so it changed the world. It started the age of kaiju, and it also showed the world the power of what is called Kaisei energy, which is, of course, the energy that powers many of the kaiju, the power source in this universe of Godzilla's signature atomic breath. And so we have these different teams dealing with kaiju threats all around the world, and we are focused in on a particular American team, G-Force, that are tasked to dealing with kaiju. And we have our main character, or main protagonist, Jason, who is very much okay, I'm not even gonna try and sugarcoat it. It's basically Attack on Titan. I don't know about the deeper political implications, because if you know with Attack on Titan, but it has a very Attack on Titan, even Kaiju number 8 type of setup, where your main protagonist loses their family to a kaiju attack, in particular a Godzilla attack, and he even has the line, the similar line to an Eren Yeager of, my name is Jason, and I'm here to kill Godzilla, kind of thing. And of course, I'm sure as the series goes on, he'll start to learn the truth about kaiju and understand more of the world, because we see other characters, in particular Dr. Chiba, who has these kind of like telepathy powers and can connect with the minds of kaiju and like understand them more. So like she will hopefully help to teach him empathy. There's also a little bit of subterfuge. His roommate is spying on him and stuff. We also see some very interesting characters on his team. We have your stereotypical kind of gung ho anti kaiju like commanding officer type. Jet Jaguar is here, which is awesome, and the fact that he can only communicate using his cheesy 90s theme song is absolutely amazing. I love it. I think that's dope. Jet Jaguar is so cool. Um, but I'm a 90s kid. No shit, I think Jet Jaguar is cool. I think this is such a cool, like, concept and such a cool way to introduce this universe. I will be picking up the other books in this new Godzilla Kaisei era. So, we will continue to cover the Big G and all the other kaiju and their adventures within IDW. I'm definitely going to be in on the ground floor with this one, so, stay tuned for that if you want more Godzilla coverage. I am covering a lot of Godzilla books, actually. Last week, I read the first issue of Godzilla Destroys the Marvel Universe, and I thought that was awesome. I know I didn't cover it because I skipped last week's episode, but that book is awesome. I can't wait to see how that miniseries comes out. I'm not reading Justice League versus Kong versus Godzilla versus Kong. That one didn't really interest me in much because that's the Legendary universe, and I mean I like the Legendary universe, but it's not really my thing. But this is Godzilla, so I'm here for this. So like, I think if you're a Godzilla fan, you will definitely enjoy the fuck out of this. In fact, I don't know if you're watching this, but my guy, if you happen to be watching this, Mr. Multiverse, you are probably one of the biggest Godzilla fans I know. I mean, Godzilla was part of your old handle for many years. So if you happen to be watching this, my guy, and you're not reading this, which I doubt you're not, because I'm sure you would be, pick this up, dude. You in particular would love the hell out of this. There's a lot of anime influence. There's a lot of classic Godzilla references. The art is spectacular. Such interesting world building. That's why I feel like this has more than earned my book of the week for this week. Alright, so now we're moving on to the next section of the video. As per usual, we're going to end the book, or not the book, but the video off with me telling you guys what I will be picking up next week. So next time on Comic Chaser, as it were, we actually only have a very short pull next week. Next week we'll only have 3 books that I'll be talking about. So we can actually have a pretty short episode. Now, there's a lot of Comic-Con news that I did not talk about too much, but if you guys are interested in hearing my thoughts, just let me know in the comments. DCKO got announced more thoroughly, and that seemed really interesting. There's a new Buffy comic series coming out soon. There's a lot of stuff that was announced at Comic-Con that, I could talk about more. And since next week's episode is shorter, if you guys want me to talk more about comic news, definitely let me know in the comments if that is something you guys are interested in. But next week, we will be talking about Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 19, The Ultimates issue number 14, and Scarlet Witch, The Vision and Scarlet Witch issue number 3. I'm excited for all 3 of these. I really hope the Ultimate Universe is not coming to an end. But with everything that I'm hearing and everything that I've been seeing and reading, it just feels like that this is wrapping up and ending, which I kind of hate. Especially with the fact that they announced Ultimate Universe or Ultimate Endgame or whatever. It's so sad because this Ultimate Universe is so good. But you know what? If that is the case, I'm going to enjoy the ride while I can. I'm not going to be a Debbie Downer about it. Uh, but we will see how it goes. So last but certainly not least, let's go ahead and talk about my spoiler-free review of the Fantastic Four: First Steps. You know, I could yap about this for hours. In fact, I yapped about it for damn near 4 hours with the guys on the podcast. Uh, so look forward to next week when you get to see a much more edited down, probably not that much, but more edited down version of the podcast where we talk about it. But you guys know me. I am a huge Fantastic Four fan. The Fantastic Four were some of the first comics I ever read as a kid. I have a lot of the old Marvel Masterworks trades of Fantastic Four with all the like Stan Lee, Jack Kirby stuff. I love them. I love the Fantastic Four. They are one of my favorite teams in all of comic books. The X-Men and the Fantastic Four are my two favorite Marvel teams and probably my two favorite superhero teams of all time. And as a huge fan of the Fantastic Four, I've been upset for a very long time because most adaptations of the Fantastic Four kind of suck. Even the 90s cartoon was pretty bad. I did not like the 90s cartoon. I did not like the second Tim Story movie. I actually think the first Tim Story movie, while not great, has a special place in my heart because I saw the first Tim Story Fantastic Four movie as a kid, and that was all I had. I still think Michael Chiklis is the Thing is awesome, but Fantastic Four First Steps was, for lack of a better word, fantastic. This was a comic book film. Just like I said with Superman, this feels like a comic book come to life, and this feels like a movie for comic book fans. Now, that being said, if you're a casual fan, you might not get as much out of it, but I still think it's a great movie. However, if you are not into sci-fi for real, you might be a little bored. I will say that. But if you like sci-fi, space travel, space exploration, if you happen to like stuff like Star Trek, you'll enjoy Fantastic Four quite a bit. You'll get a lot of enjoyment out of it. They get all these characters pitch perfect. And, like I said, it is a movie for comic book fans. And I give this movie a 4,444,444 out of 10. Basically, a 10 out of 10 movie for me personally, as an entirely too biased Fantastic Four fan. They finally got this right. The first family of Marvel finally get the respect and justice that they deserve. Without the Fantastic Four, we would not have the Marvel Universe as we know it, and they finally put respect on their names, and I am so glad. But that is my very brief spoiler-free review of Fantastic Four. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor. If you like the FF, if you have a passing respect for the FF at all, if you like them in any capacity, you deserve to see it. If you like Marvel movies and you just want a good Marvel movie, and you thought Thunderbolts was a fluke, go watch Fantastic Four. They managed to do it again. I think we're back. I think superhero movies are back in top form. I don't think superhero fatigue was ever a thing. I think the problem was that we were just putting out shitty superhero movies. People aren't going to get tired of superhero movies if you make good superhero movies. And the thing that they're doing now that they didn't do before is before they made genre movies with superhero dressing, right? But this new era, they're actually embracing the comic book elements, the silly costumes, the out there kind of dumb concepts, the actual kind of hokiness that inherently comes with comics. They're not embarrassed by it. They embrace it. They're molded by it. And I am here for all of it as a fan. So celebrate your fandom, dude. Go see these movies. I had the biggest smile on my face from ear to ear all throughout. Go see Fantastic Four. If you are a fan, if you want to learn about them and appreciate them, this will definitely help you. Go watch it. So, that's it for me. This has been Comic Chaser, and I will catch you guys next week for a brand new episode. Until then, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.